Hello, 你好. Welcome to Mandarin Mama Chitchat. It is where Trista and Yao Yao, two Taiwanese moms, share intriguing conversations with amazing people from all over the world. We're super excited and grateful to have you here, and really hope you enjoy our chit-chat.
Hey guys, welcome back to Mandarin Mama Chitchat. Today we have a pleasure to interview Cole Fogal. Cole is a successful YouTuber in Taiwan. He's originally from Canada. He has no Asian, Chinese, Taiwanese descent. He's a Caucasian man, grew up in Canada. However, he moved to Taiwan and been living there on and off over 20 years. Today's conversation was really interesting. We literally talk about everything. So be prepared. Bring a glass of wine or tea, whatever you prefer. And I want you to have an open mind and open heart for this conversation. We talk about some sensitive topics like politics, government, and Taiwanese education. We also talk about mindfulness and our experience here on earth as a human. So it really is a raw, authentic conversation. I try not to edit out so much when we are interviewing guests. I want to keep it as authentic and raw as possible. Every episode, we will give our guests some potential questions, but it's very funny. We never really follow the script. Like, we never really follow the questions we ask. We just, for me and Trista, we talk about this. We really get into it, and it just have to see where the energy flows, and that's where our conversation could go. Sometimes it can bring conversation and topic that we're not even expecting. So I hope you guys will enjoy this episode. I want to make sure you guys subscribe to our podcast because every Tuesday we will have amazing guests coming on. Make sure you subscribe so you won't miss out on any of our episodes. And if you really truly like our podcast, would you please leave a review because we would love to hear from you. It will mean a lot to us. And if you like any particular episode, you feel like you resonate with the topic, you could share it with a friend and bring them to our community, and we can grow this community together. All right, let's welcome Cole. Oh, thank you for joining us. So glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, can we start off like introduce yourself, tell us your background and why you've been living, I know you've been living in Taiwan since, I don't know, 20 years, 20 plus years?
On and
Why?
off, like on and
Okay.
off for 20 plus years. Yeah.
Okay.
My background, I'm from Canada, Toronto, Canada. Yeah, I guess I grew up in Toronto, Canada till about the age of 20, I want to say. And then I was living with my grandmother when I was around 20 years old. She passed away, and that was a sad kind of experience. And in my sadness, my sister was already living in Taiwan with her Canadian boyfriend. And basically, they called me and they knew I was kind of doing badly because I'd been living with her, my grandmother who had passed away. And they said, "Hey, why don't you come to Taiwan and, check out the island, see what you think, and maybe it'll help take your mind off how you're feeling." And they were right. That was kind of what brought me to Taiwan originally in 1999.
Wow. So it was a sister. How did your
Yeah.
sister end up in Taiwan? Study?
Yeah, no, that's the weird part. No, so her and her boyfriend were bartenders or waiters and waitresses and bartenders at a restaurant. They were saving up money in Canada. They wanted to travel. Common, I guess, in your 20s, you want to travel. And I think originally they were traveling. They went to, I think they were in Japan, they were in Korea, and I don't remember which country of those two, but they met a couple who were traveling that lived in Taiwan. And the couple said, "Oh, you got to check out Taiwan. It's a great place. It's a good hub, like a good place to take up residence, and then you can travel to neighboring countries because it was a cheap place to live." And then they moved there, and then they started teaching English in Taiwan, and then it just became the place that they lived. And they were there in 1997, I guess, would have been when they first arrived there. So they were there 2 years after meeting that couple that suggested Taiwan, and they were living in Taichung.
Okay.
And yeah, 2 years later, my sister called me and said, "I think this is the right place for you." I think it's a good place if you're kind of a confused human being and you're trying to figure yourself out, and it's just an easy place to move and take up residence. It's an easy place to. It's an easy startup country, I think. Like to.
Why would you say that? Why would you say that? Like, what part of it you feel like is easy
Well,
for, I don't know, a
the
confusing
cost
person?
the cost of living, I think, is the main one. Like you're trying to figure out, what do I do with my life, let's say. And I mean, maybe now, I will say now it's not as cheap as it used to be, but it's still cheaper than America or Canada. Um, the cost of living was very much lower, I guess, back in 1999. And so you could easily find a cheap apartment. You could easily find an English job because there were less foreigners there at the time. So it was easy to find work. It was easy to find residence. You could meet other foreigners. And I always found like hand language, body language, even when you don't know the language, it was never super, super difficult for me to communicate with people. Even back in the day when there was less English. Now it's much easier. And now we have smartphone technology, so you can translate everything. But even at the time when there was no smartphones, it it didn't seem that difficult. It was difficult, but not difficult, if you know what I mean. Like I don't know, I was 20, I think I was just turning 21, like when I came here. And it just, yeah, I feel like I fell into my life here. Like it just wasn't that difficult for me. It was challenging getting around because there was no Google Maps. So that was the challenging part. I got lost all the time. But yeah, I just kind of fell into my life here, I guess you could say.
So when you first came here, there was not really any, I guess, culture shock, or because the way you
Oh no,
described it made
no, I
it
definitely had culture shock, but I think because I was so young, like I was just like 20, 21, I didn't
adaptable.
perceive it as I didn't see it as culture shock. I just saw it like, whoa, I'm on this crazy adventure right now. Everything is like upside down to me. Like just nothing. There's just nothing like Canada here. So it was just like I was, like in a video game, like having like one of those video games where you're exploring a new land, and it's just like everything was just kind of out
Exciting.
there, I guess. Exciting, yeah. There were palm trees. Like my dream was always to live somewhere with like palm trees. So
Or in the
I
right,
guess that
you
was,
were in the right place.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
So how long did your sister stay in Taiwan, or is her and her boyfriend
No,
still in?
they're back. Actually, they're not together. They're both. I mean, sorry. She was there from 97 to about maybe like, I want to say maybe 2000 ish, 2001 or 2000, and then she moved back to Canada. Her boyfriend at the time, stayed. He was supposed to go back, and he decided to stay, and they ended up breaking up over the phone. He ended up staying, and I ended up introducing. They broke up, and I ended up introducing him to a Taiwanese woman that was a friend of a friend, and they're married now, and they've had like 3 kids. So I guess it was meant to be for him to stay here. And then the funny thing is, my sister, not funny, but just, I don't know what you would call it, but she ended up many years later meeting an Asian Canadian man who has, I guess, his parents are from Hong Kong, maybe. And I thought it was interesting that she ended up with an Asian man after her experience in Taiwan, that maybe there was some part of her that maybe wanted some of that culture. I don't know. And then she ended up marrying an Asian man. So it's funny that my two parents, their what do you call it, son-in-law and daughter-in-law, are both
Asian?
Asian. I don't Yeah, I don't know if they ever expected that was how their children were going to end up marrying Asian people. Nothing wrong with it, but just an unusual circumstance, I guess, for them.
It is. It's
So I guess
interesting.
that we share that in common. I guess my sister and I, that we both are with Asian people. Although I mean, Hong Kong and Taiwan obviously have some similarity,
Mhm.
political similarities, maybe. I don't know, without
Yeah.
getting into that. But
Mhm.
So you never left since 1999.
So no, I was a very confused young man, I would say. I think I was always looking for the grass is greener on the other side kind of thing, and I would.
That's
So my
all of us.
first year, yeah, it's all of us. Yeah, my first year, I hadn't met my wife yet, and I just got homesick after almost a year, and I moved back for a year, and then I very quickly realized Canada sucks. I have to have like a job, and everything's expensive, and it takes like an hour to get anywhere. Like it was just, I got so used to the convenience of Taiwan, and then I got homesick for Taiwan again. And so after being here a year, moved back for a year, and then came back here, my second round, and then my second round here, I guess within, I don't know, a few months, I met my wife, and then we stayed here for a while, and then I had that grass is greener on the other side feeling again, and homesickness, and I brought her with me back to Canada, and she lived with me in Toronto, Canada, for about a year. And she got homesick, and I just got bored with Canada, and I was like, okay, let's move back again. And anyway, we moved back to Canada twice over since 1999, I guess, to this point. I've moved back twice to Canada. I lived in Taichung for a while, and now, after we had our first son in 2010, my wife's family is from Kaohsiung. So we moved to Kaohsiung because you need to have a ama agong. You need a grandma and grandpa to help take care of your kids. Otherwise, well, I mean, when you have kids, you need some free time. So,
Some support.
so
Yeah.
and support. Yeah, you need emotional support. I think it's nice for children, obviously, to have grandparents. Um, so that was the reason why I didn't stay in Taichung and why we moved to Kaohsiung was for my wife's family. And at first, I wasn't happy about it. I didn't like Kaohsiung at all. It was too hot. Um, my only experience with Kaohsiung was going to visit my wife. So sorry, I was living in Taichung when I first met my wife, my second time in Taiwan, and there were no speed trains. So I took the Ruong bus, like one of the buses, which was kind of cool. It had like Nintendo system in the buses that you could play, like Mario Brothers, while you were
Really?
traveling. Yeah, that was cool. Like a Famicom or whatever you call it, Super Famicom. Anyway, so I would travel to see her, and it would take 3 hours. And I said to her, like, sweetheart, can you move to Taichung with me so that I don't have to travel so much? And she was like, sure. She was also young and looking for adventure. So for her, moving to Taichung was kind of exciting. And so that was how we ended up moving in together. So we had only been dating for about 2 or 3 months, and then she moved in with me. Like it was pretty quick. And then we got married, I guess, 2 years later. So we gave the marriage part waited, I guess, 2 years, which is also not that long, I guess.
Mm.
Um, and then she dealt with, and then going forward, then she dealt with me dealing with my flightiness of wanting to live in Taiwan and Canada and the constant. And she didn't really like the moving. I think if you ask her now, she would say it was, she doesn't regret it because she had a lot of interesting experiences in Canada with me. But at the time, packing up boxes and moving is quite an exhausting experience. So,
No fun.
and I probably would own a house by now with all the money I spent on airplane tickets. So there was that as well. So where was I? So we got married in 2003 in Canada, and then moved back to Taiwan in 2003. My first son was born in 2010, and we decided after he was born to move back to Canada. And a few years later, sorry, 2 years later, and then my second son, she got pregnant with in Canada. And then I realized, oh my God, 2 kids in Canada, that's an expensive life. And we didn't know what should we do for work or whatever. So while she was pregnant, with our second son, was our final move back to Taiwan, which was about 2014. And that was our last move. And we've been here since about 2014
Wow.
in
That's a
Taiwan.
lot. Moving with
Yeah.
a toddler at the time, I
Yeah.
guess. And then
I guess
being
yeah,
pregnant
yeah.
overseas.
He was he was under 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
It was very
Adventurous.
challenging.
So
For sure.
how do you feel since 2014? Do you still have that urge? Oh, I'm tired of Taiwan. I want to go back.
Honestly, like I know the pandemic was like terrible for most people, but for me, it was so beautiful that I couldn't travel because actually because I'm so flighty about wanting to constantly go back and forth. That 4 years, like I didn't travel and I was kind of stayed put in Taiwan, and it made me. And then I started my YouTube channel, and during that time, it just maybe because of the channel, I was doing a lot of traveling around the island and kind of experiencing things in Taiwan that I had never learned about, which also made me appreciate Taiwan more. I think the not being able to fly and the starting my YouTube channel, it gave me time away from my family in Canada and forced me to stay here. And it was kind of a beautiful experience. It made me love the island more, I guess you could say. So that was kind of the turning point. So that, yeah, I mean, that was until like 2020. Yeah. So I basically from about 2014 to about 2019 really did struggle emotionally with, do I want to live here? Do I want to live in Canada? And then when the pandemic happened, I was forced me to stay. And then I kind of almost had like this new sort of honeymoon experience with Taiwan, a newfound love, I guess, for the island. And so that was kind of the turning point, I guess, of not
Is
wanting
it
to move anymore.
is it because of the YouTube channel you started? Can you tell us about your channel? Because you have a really successful YouTube channel. Since you mentioned it, let's talk about it.
Yeah, like the channel started in 2020.
Okay.
So like I said, while the
right on there,
I
right
know,
there.
yeah, well, while the rest of the world was obviously having their lockdowns and challenges and a lot of fear and all that, Taiwan in 2020 was just, we're hearing about what's going on, and we were almost like, like, no, we're good here because we're an island, obviously. So they were able to shut the country down at a good point. Although I have some views on that as well that I can get into, but because shutting it down just prolonged the experience, to be honest. It might have been better to just let things happen like it did everywhere else, because it kept Taiwan in a more stressful, it lasted longer than it needed to. But yeah, in 2020 was a normal year. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to start a 365-day challenge where I make a video every day for a year, which seemed like a crazy kind of challenge for me. And really, it was just to keep me busy, take my mind off of reality, stuff going on, not worrying about my family and stuff like that. So I started that. And my wife was not on board with it at the beginning. So you'll notice if you go back to like some of my older videos, there were no subtitles, because she was just like, you're just like, because she just saw me as I'm kind of flighty, I want to live here, I want to live there, I want to do this, I want to do that. So she always supports me, but she doesn't necessarily get involved unless she thinks it's something I'm really serious about. So I started doing that, and she's like, whoa, he's really been making videos every day. Because at the time, I was teaching in the morning, teaching in the afternoon, teaching in the, like, I was like literally had a full day's worth of teaching.
English teacher, right?
English teaching, yeah. And I was making my video at lunchtime and like editing it, and like I was really, I've never been that busy in my life where I literally didn't have much free time. And I kept that up, and she was finally like, you know what, baby, okay, I'm gonna do the subtitles for you, because I feel like that's going to get our Taiwanese audience to watch, because they like subtitles. I mean, because maybe some of the English is challenging for some people. So, and I think in general, Asian culture, they love subtitles. I don't know if it's because maybe they sometimes want to watch the video on silent and read the subtitles. I don't know. That could be part of it, maybe. Um, like if you don't put, like that would be my advice to foreigners. If you're trying to get a Chinese or Taiwanese audience, subtitles are a must. You must have subtitles. And it's easier now because you have Chat GPT. If you're a foreigner, you don't have someone that can do subtitles. You can literally Google Translate or Chat GPT now. But at the time, I guess this is pre-Chat GPT. My wife started doing the subtitles, and then later on, she started editing as well, helping me edit the videos. So the reason we don't use Chat GPT now is that she actually likes to watch the video, and it's actually a good way to marker the parts of the video that you want to use by subtitling it. So she actually kind of subtitles and goes, okay, I like this part. And so she's kind of my co-editor subtitlist. So it's a two-man show now. But the challenge was just I'd never really, other than committing to having children, which is obviously what the biggest challenge you could have in life is having kids. I'd never really had any kind of work challenge or really anything that would last 365 days like that. So I just wanted to see if I could do it. Like it was just a way of growing up a little bit emotionally, I guess, was to see, can I handle a 1 year challenge? And then, 6 months went by, 11 months, 12 months. And then, I hit that year mark and I was just like, whoa. And then at that point, my channel had grown quite a bit. And then I was like, okay, I can't make a video every day permanently because it's literally like killing us,
That first year, what video are you making? That challenge, that whole year?
Literally anything that came to my mind. So I started off, off camera, off the podcast, we were talking about meditation.
Mm-hmm.
My purpose to make the channel was actually to talk about mindfulness and spirituality and all that, which is why if you look at like my first few videos, and I very quickly realized that this is a topic of personal interest, but it wasn't really captivating the audience that I was hoping to captivate. Not that that means you shouldn't do it, by the way, because follow your passion, obviously. But then I realized that, but I'm also interested in traveling and discovering new foods. So at the beginning, it was just supposed to be about mindfulness. So I guess to get back to mindfulness, my original, I don't know if you know the book, The Secret.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that was kind of my introduction to spirituality. It's a very kind of mainstream kind of introduction to spirituality. And then I read Eckhart Tolle, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. And that was my kind of big book that really got me into spirituality. So I was kind of obsessed with anything to do with meditation and mindfulness. And I've always been a performer. And I went to school for broadcasting. So I was like, okay, I want to start a YouTube channel. This is my topic of interest. That's what I'm going to do. And it started that way. It wasn't really making a lot of waves, like talking about that. And then I decided I'm going to make videos about traveling and my experience in Taiwan while keeping it a healthy balance. While kind of, if you watch most of my videos, there's some little like tidbit, some little thing that is of mindfulness that it's very subtle though. So it's a way to get people into mindfulness without being into mindfulness, basically.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm always in the back of my mind, like wanting to incorporate that it's in some way into my videos. So that was kind of the start of the challenge, and then I started going to waterfalls and trying different foods and traveling, and it was quite exhausting though because I was working and then I started traveling more, and I was definitely putting more money into the channel than making from, because at the beginning I obviously wasn't making anything from it. But you need to spend money, obviously, to make money. I think there's a truth to that, obviously. And then when the year was over, I was kind of lost. I don't know if you've ever done something for a long time, and then when it's over, you thought you'd be excited about finishing this challenge, but then it felt like almost like a death in a way, like a grieving period. Mm-hmm. Where I was like, okay, that was my purpose every day for a year. I don't know what to do now. And my wife and I think we both kind of got like emotionally, we were depressed for like a short time because it was like, that was our new baby. We had our two boys, and then YouTube this channel became like our third child or whatever. And then when that challenge was over, it was like, what do we do? Do we make 2 videos a week now? Do we do 3? And then very quickly we kind of hit burnout, and we were barely able to get a video a week done at that point because it was just,
Too
we didn't
much.
realize how mentally exhausted we were. And then we slowly eased into making a video a week. And we would like to make 2 videos a week at this point, but I think 1 video a week, I think for me, I want the quality of my video to be good. And I think 1 a week is, I can get good quality. If I do 2 a week, it's possible, but then you're pushing yourself. So we went from every day to having mental burnout to then doing a video a week, and that kind of leads us up to where we are now. And then originally my channel was Cole Fogal, A Healthy Balance, which, like, what is a healthy balance? It's learning to balance your life, which isn't only being healthy, it's also eating junk food. Like, it's also, having a glass of wine or going to see a movie, or like a healthy balance, as in like finding the way to be optimally healthy, but also not destroy
Also
your
have fun.
have fun. Exactly. So that was kind of the direction of my channel. And then I came up with Da Huzi,
Yeah.
which means big beard in Chinese, because I have a beard. And I was like, okay, to my Taiwanese audience or to anyone Chinese speaking audience, I was like, maybe Cole Fogal is a hard way for them to find me online. So if I come up with Da Huzi, okay, I have a beard. I don't plan on ever shaving it entirely because I love it.
You're a
And my
trademark.
wife is it's my trademark. And my wife is an unusual Taiwanese woman, I think. I mean, maybe Taiwanese women that don't live in Taiwan think differently, because you might see beards differently after living in America. But Taiwanese women that live in Taiwan think, I think they associate beards with someone died. Because in the Buddhist tradition, the man grows his beard as a sign of death, which I think is in a lot of cultures, maybe. I don't know. But they look at it kind of like it's kind of dirty or messy. And so my wife, I think she's unusual. She thinks, she's like, no, you're sexier with the beard. I'm going to
Keep it.
divorce you if you shave. No, I mean, she's kidding, obviously, but she prefers me with a beard. So
I,
that's,
I think what it
yeah,
is, because Asian men, it's just genetically, it's hard for Asian men to
right.
grow a nice and thick beard. So I think maybe, I'm not sure. So
That could be
women in
part of it,
Taiwan,
yeah.
they're not used to it, right? Like, oh, that's just too
Yeah.
messy, or not used to it.
But I think if an Asian man can grow a beard, to any Asian men listening to this, do it. I think they look so cool with beards. Like, maybe because you don't see it as often, but like, if you can grow a cool beard, you should.
Mhm.
That's how I look at it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, I guess that leads. Yeah, there's the channel. Yeah, sorry.
cool. No, you're fine. So now, because in the beginning you were teaching and also, I mean, had small children too, and then doing videos on a daily basis, which is, I'm sure it's a lot. And then now, 4 years after, are you still juggling between teaching and YouTube video making, or you are like,
So
mm-hmm.
I was trying to go part-time teaching, part-time YouTubing, and I tried that for a year, but my channel's still growing. Like, I'm very close to 100,000. I'm about, like, and
Yay!
that's when I know, magic play button, the play button, you know. I mean, to a YouTuber, it's like, whoa, I can't wait to hang my play button somewhere. And I wonder, will I feel let down when I get the play button? Will it be like the 1 year challenge where I'm like, oh, okay, I have it now? Like, or will I be? I think I'm going to be excited about it. But basically, I tried for a year, but I think I jumped in too quickly, like thinking that I could go part-time teaching, part-time YouTubing. So for a year, I worked in the morning and I was focusing on YouTube, and I was just like, oh, this financially, like, we're surviving, but we're not thriving. So I ended up picking up afternoon hours. So now I'm teaching in the morning, making YouTube videos, and doing subbing in the afternoon, so that I still don't teach every afternoon, but I have sub work that I do. I think that's more optimal. But my YouTube monthly money started growing recently, So I think I'm very close to being able to just teach in the morning and do YouTube in the afternoon. I think when you hit that magic 100,000 subscriber, I feel like the little algorithm men that are controlling the internet, I feel like they're like, okay, they're like these little AI robots. Okay, he hit 100,000. Let's give him more money. I feel like there's something there, but I could be
I'm
wrong. But I
multiplying
think,
quicker too. Having such a
yes,
large base
right.
audience,
Right. And I
subscribers.
have friends. I have friends that are YouTubers. I watch them after they hit 100,000. They've been able to be more full time with the YouTube. So I think I'm on the cusp of it right now because I don't really desire teaching anymore, but it's a living.
Right.
It's something that I'm good at because I've been doing it for so many years, but like many foreigners that come to Taiwan, I don't think it's necessarily their passion. It's just something as a foreigner you can fall into it very easily. And so that was why I became an English teacher originally. And maybe you can tell I like talking. So
Perfect.
so
Yes, good
teaching
combo.
is talking, right? YouTube is talking, teaching is talking. There's a performance element to teaching. So I guess it's not a bad job for me. It's just not my passion, I would say. So
Mm.
I enjoy it while it's still not my passion, though, I would say.
Yeah. It's a nice job to have, right? For the money and then for the security, I guess, right? Not
Yeah,
money.
I mean, and I think, especially younger kids, like they love you, like they treat you like a superstar. You're like the teacher call, like you're like this little
How old are they?
superstar.
How old are your students?
So like 5, 6, 7.
Oh, little
Wow.
Yeah.
kid.
You have
Yeah,
to be
yeah, yeah,
super energetic because I
yeah.
teach high school students and I can never do small children because
Yeah.
their energy level are way
Yeah.
too high. And I
Yes.
feel like the older I get, I feel like
But
I cannot
but
meet them at their level.
but do you find high school like how do teachers compete with technology now though? Like kids don't really give a about school anymore because technology is kind of taken over that I think being a teacher now sucks on a lot of levels because we're competing with chat gpt and computers and dopamine that we can't give them as teachers. Like
Yeah,
it's so
right.
challenging.
Yes, and I'm sure in Taiwan, like different schools, or like in America, like different school districts, right, or like private, public, and all that. But yes, we're definitely competing. Not even just Chat GPT in terms of like cheating a way out, right? For
Yeah.
example, like math, they can literally just take a picture of the math problem and then gives you
Yeah. Yes.
the solutions
And
like step by step.
yeah.
So yes, obviously it is a big challenge, and we are all learning as it goes, right? Like learning
I
alongside
mean,
students.
I think you're in that point right now, and I'm in that point right now where it's probably the worst point in teaching history, and maybe 10 years from now, 20 years from now, it will level out at some point.
Because it just
Or
so
yeah,
hard, it's like so fast as well, and everything is evolving. Like it's ever
yeah, no,
changing.
we can't keep up with it anymore. It's not
Mhm.
possible. Our brains can't keep up with it.
Yeah, and another thing with technology is students are just like obsessed, addicted to the phones, like TikTok, Snapchat, and all the apps. And it's like you
Yes.
are not even just trying to like make sure they're not cheating, they're actually learning, use their brain, but also like
Yeah.
you are trying to get their attention. Like, how do you move them? Because it's almost impossible to like, I'm a human being here. Like, there's selective hearing.
Yeah.
It's
Yes. But
I
maybe
don't know.
maybe
Yeah,
maybe it's a way to reassess because I kind of have my opinions about this. I mean, schooling and the school system. Maybe it's a way to reassess what is school and what is learning.
I
Because
totally agree.
I mean, some people might argue you need to learn about history, for example, because you don't want to repeat whatever. But no, history is still repeating itself, whether you learn about history or not. Like, is history important, or should we maybe learn about important things like mindfulness and how to build things with our hands? Obviously there's wood shop, how to meditate, how to
The life
empower
skills.
yourself. Yeah, life skills, how to feel good about yourself, and how to, if money is such a driving force in the world, sadly, I mean that's just how it is, then how to make money, because you graduate school and you're still like, I don't know how to make money, and I don't know how to be that's why there's the 1% and everyone else, right? Because
or
so
even
we need to
financial literacy
rethink.
too. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, everything, all of that. So I hope that we can do that, but I don't think the people controlling the various
policymakers.
I don't think it's in their best interest, because controlling people is a better way to make money, right? So like if we make everyone empowered and wealthy and happy, then we don't have any power then, and so you get into is the government there to help us, or is the government there to without getting into conspiracy or whatever, which I'm kind of obsessed with conspiracy theories, by the way, but is the government there to support humanity, and maybe that was its purpose at one point, and now is it there to support us, or to world domination? Who knows? I mean, I don't know exactly,
you
but
brought this up, and so question. I mean, because I have a 4-year-old and 2-year-old, they are not really in school, like K through 12, the 12 like 13-year schooling just yet. But obviously, being a teacher, I'm like reflecting and thinking about what is the right education. Like, how do I help them better support
I do have an
grow
opinion.
into a all-around human being, global citizen, things like that. So my question for you is, because in Taiwan, I mean, there are different types of schools as well. I mean, like people go to like American school, international school, private, public. But what has your experience been? Because your kids now are school age, right? How being a parent, also being a teacher, and then from Canada.
But I think the problem for me is that I'm a teacher, but I'm like a rogue teacher, because I don't really like the school system. So that's the humor of it. It's like I'm in a school system, but I don't agree with it. So it's challenging.
Sorry to interrupt, but so do you teach at cram school, 补习班, or like a school, like traditional school?
No, it's like a bushy band, like a cram school. Yeah. It's all private, or not government schools. But my 8-year-old is in what grade is he in? Grade 3. And that was a mistake. He should probably be in grade 2, because his birthday's in August, and I think that's part of why he's been finding school challenging, is because he's kind of a year ahead of a lot of the kids. And my older son is in grade 7, and they're both in the regular government schools. And my older son, it's emotionally manageable for him because he's on the basketball team, and his obsession, he would like to be a professional basketball player. I mean, obviously his dream would be the NBA, but I mean, even professional Taiwan basketball player, which would be amazing as well. So that's kind of his focus. So it takes him away from the boredom, or the challenges of the intensity. He doesn't go to bushy band, cram school, or any of that. So his focus is just basketball. So he tolerates it, but I wouldn't say he likes the amount of homework. I mean, they just give too much homework, I think, is the main thing. Even in grade 3, it's like, what are you learning? My younger son, his name is Sky. I'm like, Sky, what are you learning? This is like university level math in grade 3. Like, what are you learning? Like, I can't even my wife finds it challenging to help him with some of his homework. Like, we have to Google stuff. Like, we don't why are you learning factors and fractions and grade 3?
I have a third grader too. Let's compare. What math level is your son learning?
No, they're learning
my son right now. Is learning about multiplication, and multiplication.
Yeah, that sounds normal to me. Like, just normal. You mean like times tables, that kind of stuff?
Times table and
like
multiplication,
adding, subtracting, division.
not even division yet. Not even division.
Okay, so what he's learning, that, I mean, I'm sure it's still difficult for any math, is just, for a lot of kids, it's just difficult, but that sounds more normal to me. No, they're learning what do you call it? Like fractions or factors? I don't even know. Like, I don't even remember learning that myself.
My daughter's learning that. She's in 5th grade. Fraction, right? Like fraction.
Like 2
I don't know, where they have like pi equals whatever, and they have these weird lines.
Never mind. No.
That is a third grader.
Yeah, so I can't even help them with it, because I don't understand it.
That's like a standard 3rd grade.
Yeah, I think just standard. It's not normal. What you just said sounds more normal to me. like normal, like what I would have learned when I was in school. And even then I found that challenging. But yeah, no, what they're learning, it just doesn't, it's
Wow.
just such a, it's just such a science, mathematical based culture. Like they lack, they lack a lot of the, like the drama and the art. They have it still. They don't have drama, but they still have art class, but
Music.
they still have, yeah, but then music, it's like, does every kid need to learn violin or what do you call it, the
Recorder.
recorder, you know? It's like, maybe give them some other options, you know? Maybe ukulele might be fun, you know? I don't know, something. I think it's just a very math logic based culture, and it's missing the arts. I think is lacking in the government system here, I would say.
Yeah.
Is one of the main things.
Or even like, I think we had this discussion too, Tristan, like even like critical thinking, like working a project,
Yeah.
group, social,
Yes.
interaction, and
Yeah. Well, and I think it will. Yeah, critical thinking is I think as a foreigner, that's a challenge as a foreigner living here, because it's like, it's hard to say to the average person, but why don't you think about it in da 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 da? It's a group think mentality here.
Yeah.
So,
It's a
and I
culture.
think the problem, yeah, it's in the culture. I don't know, maybe it comes from Confucius, or I don't know, like people probably get annoyed at me for saying some of it. I don't know if it comes from Confucius culture, or if it's a Buddha, like I don't know exactly where it comes from, or losing face, mianzi, like
yeah,
people, yeah, mianzi. Everyone kind of wants to follow whatever script because they want to fit in, they want to be part of the team. And I think the problem with that is, but what if everyone's following something that's faulty? Then you get a whole culture that's following a faulty system. That's where you create dysfunction in a culture. And it takes people who think outside of the box to kind of break that system a little bit. I mean, anywhere in the world, but here I think it's challenging, definitely.
I
And
think
I
it's the
think,
whole society, it's a
yeah.
culture thing, right? I think here in America now, I mean, not to generalize, but nowadays been hearing a lot, stand out, be think outside the box,
Oh, but then
don't.
it's too, yeah, but then you get
Yeah.
woke though, and then there's an agenda with the woke, that's another agenda,
Yeah.
right? Like
I just feel like,
how different,
yeah, they need to have, like you say, balance, right? I think they need to
a
blend
healthy
together
balance,
and
yeah.
find a good
Yeah.
middle ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that polarized. I mean, that's why, I mean, America is ridiculously polarized. I mean, like, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. It's like, guys, don't you understand that Democrats and Republicans are the same, and they're playing you. They're like, you're literally getting puppeted by these two programs that are literally indirectly working together to keep you separate, because dividing and conquering is how you control any nation anywhere. Like, if you just keep people polarized, I'm a straight person, I'm a gay person, I'm a he she person, I'm a, like, whatever, like,
They,
the more you, yeah, the
Feel
they people,
divided.
the more you divide people, and it's so divided to the point where it's just like, I really don't care about your sexuality, and I think it's ridiculous to even like why do you need that? Like, I don't walk around saying I'm a straight man, but then the people on the other side will argue, but that's because it's okay to be. No, it's not just because it's because I don't care about sexuality. You can think and be whatever you are, but why has it been like it's politicized? Why is everything being like, it's just empower yourself. That's all I'm saying. Like
I
Hmm.
I
whatever
love
you
what you're
are, believe
saying.
in yourself. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that is definitely the ultimate goal, and then like the
Yeah.
solution. But I wonder if it because they're being oppressed for so long, they feel
Yeah, absolutely.
like they need to have that, like kind of like Black Lives Matter too,
Yeah.
They just feel like there's a need to like voice themselves, and like kind of there's that
Oh,
Asian.
I totally get where it's coming from, but then you don't want to have it where black people start hating on white people, because then you're just doing the same thing over again in reverse. Like, you
Yeah.
want you want to find a place where all races and whatever come together. Like, if we don't, then we just continue to be polarized, and we never, like, life does not change this way.
Yeah. So
Like
question
just
actually.
empower yourself. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah. So like I guess we kind of went through not really political, but like kind of a little bit. But now I'm curious because I don't really know much about Canadian culture, but you know how when several years ago when this president was elected, name shall remain unspoken, but a lot of
Yeah.
Americans
You mean oh, the redheaded guy?
well, that just moved to
Yeah.
Canada, and like I'm just like,
Oh, I
curious,
mean,
like,
yeah.
how
A
is
lot of people say that.
Canada really like this utopia? Nothing, not really downplaying or anything, but I just don't know anything about Canadian culture or Canadian politics.
Well, actually, I wanted to say about Trump. Obviously,
Yeah.
can you say Trump online now? Is that
No, yeah, that's
acceptable?
fine. I
Like,
just didn't want to be like kind of scare my
are you
fans and things like that. Trying to be
is Houston a Republican state predominantly or a Democrat state?
Texas. I'm in Texas.
Right. I love Texas though because they're open minded. At least they don't like want to like fight with.
Oh
I
no,
think they're pretty. Are they
that's
not?
the
Oh, okay.
opposite.
very
Oh, you
conservative
mean
from an outsider perspective.
Yeah, you're
right?
right. That's right. That's
Okay,
right.
well, Canadians, you know what's funny about Canadians is that they are super obsessed with American politics and care less about Canadian politics, which is weird to me. Like, it's very strange.
Oh.
So all I was going to say was, if we're talking about my family, I'm pretty neutral. I don't care. I mean, like I said, I don't think it matters who's in charge. I think the polarization is the thing that needs to change is people coming together. But for my family, yeah, they did not like the character that you were talking about. And they were going on and on about it. And it's like, do I really have to listen to you for 3 or 4 years complain about another country's president? Why do you care so much? And they're like, oh, because whatever happens in America really affects us. I'm like, but doesn't whatever happens in Canada really affect you as well? Because I would ask them, like, well, what's your, like, they do have opinions about politics in Canada, but it's less strong, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So as
Well,
far as
would you
Canadian politics, yeah, I guess we have two main parties, just like you guys have two main parties,
and Taiwan as well. Yeah.
and
Mhm.
Taiwan as well. And yeah, and it's the same in Taiwan. Yeah, you have the DPP and the KMT, and I guess the KMT is kind of more for people. People think of them as reunification. They
Yeah.
want China and Taiwan to be one, which I don't know if that's necessarily 100% true. And then the DPP is more like they want independence for Taiwan, but I don't. The two parties don't like. I don't get a strong feeling like there's a big divide between the two, other than those kind of that.
The core
Like
value or
the core, but I don't know if a KMT became in power. I don't know if that would necessarily mean Taiwan would like that. There would be. I don't think it would just be suddenly there'd be reunification. I don't think it's like that. So I don't know. They both have good points and bad points. That's what I would say about the politics here.
You know, just want to add something in, Cole, like, because we were talking about mindfulness, and I listen to a lot of mindfulness podcasts, and there's a saying, and they said, we are someone, some of one. You know, we doesn't matter what color you are. You know, it's like a big ocean. We're just one big ocean, but we're just wave. Like the wave is not separate from the ocean. So we are actually, yes, we're different. Maybe you're Republican, you're white, black, whatever it is, but we actually are together. We are one big ocean.
Yeah, no, that's
right?
how I don't think we're different.
Yeah.
I think my interpretation of this human experience is that we're here to experience, and I think whatever the creator is, I don't know if it's God, an architect, I don't know, whatever designed us, it depends on which religion you look at it from, but whoever designed this reality, I think it fragmented itself into billions of different experiences, and that's you and I and all the people of the world. We're having fragmented experiences from the whole, meaning that we are all one collective consciousness that is experiencing itself through these separate experiences, these separate beings, but they're all actually connected to one main energy source, or whatever you want to call it. So that's my feeling, and I think that makes me a more, or at least try to be a more loving human being, and look at someone that I don't agree with
Yeah.
without having to look at them in a hateful way. That's why, like, when it comes to politics or whatever,
Yeah.
like, I see people getting so heated, and it's like,
It's
I
triggering.
understand. Yeah, it's triggering, right? And I understand why this guy is like this and why that guy is like that. And I can find a neutral place because I think that person's just having that experience and I'm having
Yep.
this experience. And there is no, even we say there's good and bad in the world, but I think it's all just experience. And then everyone has their own opinion
Yep.
about what they think is good and what they think is bad. And then we
So
have collective opinions about good and bad.
Yeah. So they say everything's neutral in this world. Like everything is neutral. It's what you
Yeah. Yes.
put the meaning to it. We put
That's
the
how I
meaning
look
to
at it.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
This is blue. This is green. This is
Yeah.
yellow. Like I put the meaning to it. This is bad. This is
Yeah.
good. Right. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's how I look at it. Like, for example, like I think murder is wrong because that I have been designed with the moral that killing someone is wrong.
Yeah.
But maybe there's some other planet where that's a normal thing. I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if there
Yeah.
is another planet in the universe somewhere,
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
I
You
think
know,
Trista and I, we did an episode, remember? Trista, we're talking about like eating animals, like dogs. And
right.
for us, we're like,
Exactly.
oh my God, it's terrible eating dog and cat. But maybe
But
in some other
maybe,
country, they're
yeah.
like, this is normal. It's like eating chicken, right?
But because we love dogs and cats in a domesticated way, but in another place in the world, why is that any different than eating a cow or
Yeah.
any other, like what you just said, basically? It's your own morals and your own belief system, really. And
Yeah.
your belief system is only right to you. It might not be right to someone else. So I think that's where you can find a neutral place, you know? Like I said, I think one fundamental thing is I don't believe in murder. I think that's that's like my one strong, like, nope, killing is wrong. I mean, but that's me. But maybe there's some island somewhere that's cut off from society that where they eat people, like they're cannibals or whatever.
Yeah.
And in their belief system, that's normal. It's like
I guess
who am
it's
I to
more,
argue?
you don't have to agree, but you respect,
Right.
right? Or you try to understand and can be compassionate and curious about it. And I think I wholeheartedly agree what you're saying. And I think the world would be such a much better place if people could just listen and have the grace of
yes. And the same with war. Like, there's all these wars going on. It takes two people to fight. So if the news is saying this country's wrong and this country's right, but really we don't know the fine details of why these people are thinking this way and these people are thinking this way. It just like politics, like everyone has their reason for why they do whatever, and then we get the news having, it's supposed to not have an opinion one way or the other, but it seems the news seems to have an opinion even though they're not supposed to. They do seem to have their.
I don't even watch news anymore. I don't even watch news.
The news is on low frequency. If you're talking on an energetic level, the news. Part of why the pandemic was such a terrible time is people were glued to the TV, and they had fear that was literally pumping into their brains and their eyes 24/7. And then we have the internet as well.
They say that the news, they're supposed to give you a lot of bad news, because if it's all good news, nobody's gonna watch it. But if it's bad news, that, oh my gosh, all this, you get scared and keep watching it.
Yes.
That's why all
the news. Yeah. And the news gives you whatever you want. So collectively, society wants that, because if we didn't want that and everyone stopped watching, then they would change the format of the news.
Yeah.
So unconsciously, everyone wants the fear being pumped in because they would stop watching it if they didn't want it anymore. I mean, that's how I look at it.
Yep. Yeah. We're gonna shift gear a little bit to
wow, we went from like how I arrived in Taiwan to
I love it though. That's like just kind of.
I'm curious though, one thing. Do you guys speak Mandarin or English at home?
Mostly English. Well, between my kids and my wife and I, mostly English. Between my wife and my kids, quite mixed, like both. They'll actually kind of just like go back and forth.
Oh, interesting.
Like when my son, when he gets home from school, let's say he's unloading everything that happened that day, it's easier for him to explain it in Chinese because I think he's explained to me that he's like, Dad, I'm with Mandarin speaking people all day long. It's really hard for me to flip into English and try to translate to you all the Chinese that was going on that day.
Do you
So,
understand though? If he
like, sometimes he has to do his best to explain it, and he gets frustrated sometimes because his English is perfect, but it's more that it's just more if he's talking about Taiwanese people, he feels more comfortable talking about it in Chinese.
So his
Basically.
English is perfect. He learned English solely from you. Did he went to Bushiban?
No, and my wife. No, I don't. Definitely would not send my kids to Bushiban. I think the school day is long enough.
Already. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So just solely from you and your wife.
Yeah.
Funny.
I would say they're speaking. Yeah, both of my kids is obviously they're fluent in Chinese and English speaking. I would say my older son's reading and writing might be easier in Chinese than English because he's gone to a government school.
Yeah.
He can read and write, but he can read and write, but it's stronger in Chinese, I would say. My younger son, I think he finds school challenging in English or Chinese. I think he's like, when I was a kid, that was me. I just didn't fit the school system very well. And I was put into a kind of they call it special ed or special education. And I think that was the greatest thing that could have ever happened to me in school. Because I wasn't, well, I think because at the time it was not good because the kids would make fun of me for being in special education. But as I got older, I realized that I got programmed in a different system than the regular system. So it actually allowed me to think a little bit more out of the box than someone who's, let's say, being programmed by the typical societal program. It gives me a different perspective on life, I think, because I see things differently because of how I was taught differently by the teachers. So,
and it's really the goal and the idea of special ed as well, like all the accommodations to better support meet each student's needs. So I'm glad that
which would be good for it'd be good for everyone, wouldn't it?
Yeah, right.
The idea of it would be good for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, my younger son, he actually was put in. They don't have special ed here is not like special ed there, but he has an extra class that helps him. Yeah, that helps him with like the reading and writing and like make it a little bit easier for him. We thought about homeschooling actually at one point. We're still thinking about it for my younger son, but homeschooling also requires a level of effort from the parents that I don't know if I have the time or the patience for.
Yeah.
And I feel guilty because I feel like that probably, like, if I could homeschool effectively, I probably would choose that for him.
Yeah.
What about my older son? What's that?
Try out doing summer for like a month.
Yeah, that's an idea. Yeah, because he's off in the summer. That actually is a good idea. Maybe I would see what I can do.
I've thought about homeschooling too. But being a teacher, which is nice because I have a summer off. And then, I mean, obviously my kids are still younger, but I'm like kind of feeling it and I don't know, decide as it goes.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, my like what I would say to someone with kids who haven't gone to school, if you can homeschool, like if you could find a way to do it effectively, I think it's better than school personally, because then you are like special ed doing a personalized lesson for that human being.
Yeah.
And as a parent, you know your kid better than any teacher's ever going to know your kid. So you would be able to do it more effectively if you can figure out how to do it and have the patience for it. But
and definitely outsource as needed as well, because I don't know.
You can,
yeah, like some parts.
But then I think it becomes more expensive as well, potentially, if you have to pay for tutors.
Exactly, because you're like basically reduce one income and then spending more because public school is free.
Unless you could find a group where, you know, Bob down the street, he teaches math, and Sally down the road, she teaches science. You know, like if you could find
there are homeschool like co-ops like that. So like in the co-op community, like this parent teaches something, like so which is nice. Essentially, it's like they're in classrooms, or not classroom setting, but they have that community social aspect, but just not attending school full time and just being in one room.
Or even part-time. Yeah, part-time schooling, like part-time regular school, part-time home.
Right.
would be cool as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you brought your kids back to Canada to visit?
Yeah, like before the pandemic, like every year we would go home for a visit, and a very expensive visit. But
Yeah, I know. And
um,
Toronto is
both
expensive.
of my kids, yeah, it's pretty rough. Yeah, I mean, probably I'm sure it's comparable to the States.
Right, New
Um,
York.
yeah, similar to New York, I guess. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, every year we would go back. So yeah, both my sons have spent a lot, not a lot, but my older son actually went to senior kindergarten in Canada.
Oh, okay.
So he had 1 year when we moved back where he went to school for 1 year in Canada, and then the rest of his school years have been in Taiwan. My younger son has only gone to school here, but both of them, yeah, like they both seen snow and experienced like Canadian culture. And we have a cottage um, that my grandfather built years and years ago. So we would experience Canadian nature and swimming in the lake and fishing and all that kind of stuff. And then also experiencing the big city. I think my older son, like they both love Taiwan, but I think he has more interest at this point because he's had more life experience in Canada. I could see him living there one day potentially.
Mhm.
Yeah. As far as myself, I'm not sure. I
Maybe
think
like college.
yeah. Yeah. Well, my sister who's now back in Canada for many years has offered her house
Oh,
that he could live there and go to school
oh,
there if he wanted to. So yeah, totally up to him. Like if he decides he wants to do that, I support whatever. I selfishly would like him to be closer to me, but that's like a typical
right.
parent, I guess.
Mhm, yeah.
But
It's
obviously
not
whatever makes
selfish.
him
You love
happy.
him and you want
Yeah.
him to be around. That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, but of course whatever he decides he wants to do.
So it sounds like your sons are both versed or like comfortable in both languages and cultures, which is
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
again back to like the balance thing. Like I don't know how you did it, how you achieved it, but it's impressive.
I would say, well, actually, I would say my older son, if we're talking culturally, he's definitely, I think I would say he's more into American culture than Canadian culture because he watches a lot of YouTube, which you get a lot more American channels. And he starts saying like phrases that like, yo,
Slang.
bruh. You know, I'm
Oh
like,
my
oh
god,
my God,
my kids say that all the time, bro. Like, what is bro?
bruh, like brother, bruh.
Yeah.
You know,
Like,
it's
no,
like,
I'm your
okay, you're
dad.
watching.
Stop calling me bro.
Yeah, no, but then I started saying it just because I hear them saying it all the time. So I'm like the big brother talking to them. But yeah, no, they're always watching like Mr. Beast and like whatever the
Oh yeah,
popular channel.
yeah, Mr. B.
What
They're obsessed
not
with it. My kids are.
what's his name? Not Jake Paul, the other one, the brother. What's the
Oh,
other brother? You know,
I know what you're
the
saying.
other Paul brother.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like just they watch those channels, and
I'm not a
so
fan though. Neither.
yeah, I don't know, hard to say. I'm
But
neutral. I'm neutral about
okay,
it.
yeah, that's good. That's good. Yes, yeah. I just say I'm
There's
too old for that.
yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm watching, I'm like, this is garbage, man. Why are you watching this? But that's what they want to watch, you know?
Yeah, my
And
kids watch Mr. Beast all the time
but
too.
Mr. Beast, like, I don't know. I actually liked him before he was quite so big.
Yeah,
Like his stuff now is so epic, his videos.
it's crazy.
It's like buying an island or like, whatever he's doing. It's very entertaining, but
Yeah.
you wonder how much of it is theatrical and how much of it is genuine now,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I would say they're growing up on American culture because of these channels
Social
and the
media.
video. Yeah, social media, the video games that he's into Fortnite. I don't know if you know Fortnite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My older son, it's an American game. So he's very into American culture, pop culture, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And then my younger son watches the younger versions of that on YouTube, like I don't know, FGTV, American families talking about video games with each other, or playing video games, or Minecraft channels where they're speaking like where they have like ADD, where they're talking about, and I'm like, whoa.
So they
This
don't
guy's up
watch
there. Yeah.
any
Yeah.
Taiwanese. They're not into any Taiwanese.
No, not
pop culture.
really.
Not really. So
Not
me
so
more,
much.
like the entertainment.
No, the only thing I would say is Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Pokemon cards. They collect Chinese Pokemon cards, and my son plays Pokemon in Chinese with his friends. Basketball, no, yeah, it would be more NBA. Although we do have a Taiwan
League.
we do have Taiwan teams, a Taiwan league with only 5 teams. You know, it's not.
What's his name? Drew, Howard. What was
Oh, Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard.
Dwight,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was exciting when he was here.
Is it?
What's that?
So he's no longer in Taiwan now. Then
I mean, I
tapped up.
I think they get these guys because it's exciting for the Taiwanese audience, obviously, to watch. But I think they probably have culture shock when they come here and they're like, okay, I'm good for 6 months. I'm going back to, you know.
And the amount of attention they receive when they first get here.
Oh, it's probably very stressful, I would imagine. Like, probably they're more famous here than they would have been maybe in the States, because maybe they weren't the superstar players, but here they're like,
a big deal. Yeah.
Treated like,
Royal. I feel like that's a Taiwan culture too. We love 外国人 foreigner.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's what sometimes when I'm walking down the street, you know, I have people come up to me and I'll say to my wife, are they recognizing the channel or are they just saying hello to me because I'm a foreigner? I don't know which one it is. I'm hoping it's the channel, obviously, because I want it to get more recognition. But like, unless they say da huzi or like, oh, Ko Fogal, then I don't know. Are they just wanting to say hi to a foreigner, which happens a lot? Like, it's very sweet, you know. Like some foreigners get bothered by it, and there was maybe like when you're having a bad day, you don't want people to notice you.
Yeah,
you know,
there's no space.
You just kind of want to hide yourself, you know. But like, if I'm having a normal day, like it's kind of flattering that they would go to the trouble of saying hello, you know. Like, it doesn't. But they often would say like "May Goran," like American.
Yes, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what we were talking with Li Dafeng. That's what he said. Everybody just you speak.
Dafeng.
Yeah. You
he's
speak
a friend
English,
of mine.
Right? They just assume you're American. You speak English. That's it.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, and I, you know, it used to bother me to be called American. Now I I have love for America. Like, I have love for any nation, whatever.
Sure.
There's good and bad people everywhere, right? But now I'm just like
too tired to explain. Whatever.
Because
I used to be like, oh no,
that's what Dafeng shared as well. He just like, he just doesn't bother anymore.
It's not that important.
Yeah, I can relate though. I would say Asians in America. I'm not sure about other countries, but America, people assume, just like jump to conclusion that we are Chinese. They were from China. Then but I guess an intricate relationship, but like tension between China and Taiwan. So I feel like an urge to like, no,
tell them where you're from.
My own stance, my identity. Like I said, no, it's actually Taiwan. If I were from other Asian country, probably I wouldn't.
And regardless of the political whatever, it is a separate identity. Like, it's a very different culture.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, the history, you share some history, but from friends I've known who have lived in China and lived in Taiwan, they said culturally, it's quite different. Like, the food is different, and the behavior.
Beijing years ago, and I don't know, culture shock is the word, but definitely different. And I speak Mandarin perfect. I mean, I grew up in Taiwan, but I had to like ask them to say it a couple of times or ask them to slow down because of the Beijing
pronunciation, right?
Yeah, the pronunciation and the vocabulary, like British English and American English. So essentially 2 different cultures and slightly different languages too.
But I mean, back to the so at one point it used to bother me, and I don't really have a strong Canadian pride. Like, I think maybe I did at one point. Now I feel like I've lived here so long. You know, I wouldn't call myself Taiwanese, but I wouldn't call myself a strongly patriotic Canadian either. Like, I love Canada and I love Taiwan. So if you think I'm American, that's fine. Like, it doesn't, like, it really doesn't matter to me.
Cole, what about your sons? Do they get a lot of attention because they're mixed baby? You know,
I think
they're probably so cute.
I mean, you do maybe you could get a little bit of jealousy, maybe sometimes from some of the if it's an insecure. I mean, maybe if it's an insecure Taiwanese boy, and he looks at my son who's, you know, different and getting more attention, like, I could see how that. I mean, that's where I could have sympathy or understand.
Right? Kind of tricky, like teenage year, 7th grade. Yeah.
But no, they don't come home too often, either of them saying they have any problems at school. I think if anything, I think the kids might see it as a novelty to be friends with them.
Oh.
Like more a positive than a negative, I think, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't, neither of them have dealt with like being bullied or
I would say good
being,
attention though. Good attention. People
they do
probably,
tend to
yeah.
get good attention, but once again, that's a problem because, like, for example, my son is into basketball, expecting that he's going to be the top 3-point thrower, or maybe they're watching him more because they want to see how the Wygoran's going to be with,
White chorus.
yeah, they might get a little bit of like that kind of pressure, or like English class. Oh, why didn't
Oh,
you do
yeah.
well on your English test? Isn't your father a foreigner? It's like, why do you naturally assume because I'm a foreigner it means that I'm good in English class?
Hey, it's nice out
Like
here in the US too,
yeah, yeah,
because you look Asian, you're supposed to ace
yeah,
your Mandarin Chinese, class
right,
in
Oh,
high
good at
school.
yeah.
math.
But yeah, we're good at math.
Yeah, and good at math. Yeah, all Asian people are good at math is like a stereotype. Yeah,
Yeah, but a lot of kids they actually born and raised in the US, so their Mandarin's not as good. You can't just
but
assume.
yeah, I have a theory though. I do think Asian people are good at math quite often, and I think it has more to do with how they're being raised. I think especially in Taiwan there is such a strong academic, like,
Foundation.
you must get 95 100% from, like, you get these parents that are really
Yeah.
like
Putting down.
they're really hard, yeah, like, what do we call it, tiger mom or whatever, that are really like hard on their kids, and the kids will be shamed by the family if they don't get 95 or above, so it forces them to be good at it.
Mhm.
But then if you ask them, do you remember what you learned a month later, they forget it because it's all memorization, and then they forget it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they're only learning it to get good grades, and then I had this conversation with my students the other day, and I said to them, I'm like, well, what's the point in you doing well on a test and then not actually knowing anything a month later? And they said, oh, just, I need to get good grades, my parents expect me to. I'm like, but in 10 years, like, maybe it's bad that I'm doing this because I'm planting seeds in their mind, but I think it's important, is, will it matter in 10 years if you pass or fail this thing, if you don't understand what you're learning? What is the value in it other than just going, look, I got 95 or 100? Like, it seems like a pride thing more than learning. So yeah, I
Or
guess
out
I'm
of
kind of
fear.
bad that way.
Or
I
sometimes
guess I'm kind of bad that way. I should probably keep my opinion to myself, to my students. But it hurts me sometimes because they look so
try
stressed. And I'm
motivating
just
them
like,
to really take ownership of learning. Because I think,
yeah,
at least me personally growing up, I think I studied or I learned out of fear, or
yeah.
like fearing disappointing my parents, or fearing of being punished or scolded. And then
So did you guys grow up, both of you, in Taiwan, like
Mhm.
in the school system?
Yeah.
Did you have the, what do you call it, the fascia, the stick on the
Oh,
hand
all the
when you were
time,
going?
all the time
Yeah.
for
I
me.
So
had it for a
that's
couple years.
fear. That's fear for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
think
had it for 3
it was
years.
fading out. It was fading out, so it
Yeah, yeah.
lasted up till I was elementary school. Like, I can't remember what grade, but yeah,
So I'm grateful that my kids
don't have to
came
go through it.
into the world after that was gone. I mean, that's fear. I mean, putting aside how the parents are going to feel, like your teacher hitting your hand, like, no, I'm going to get 100 if I could avoid getting my hand
And
like
public
hit.
shaming too, not just the physical pain.
And public shaming, yeah. So yeah, I guess there's just, like I said, my heart, like, why I try to plant these seeds is the stress that the child is put under. It's too much, I think.
I totally
But
agree.
they'll defend it. But they will defend it, like, oh, but teacher, this is how we need to be. And I'm just like, oh, is it? But if your parents expect it, I mean, you're living with them, you're going to be dealing with them shaming you, and nobody wants to be shamed by their parents. So it's like,
Mhm.
yeah. I hope it changes, though. I guess, like, if any parents are listening that are from Taiwan that listen to this podcast, and I've said this on my own channel, like, I hope that you can rethink what is the importance of this, like, what's the,
What's the
as my
ultimate
good
goal?
friends, yeah, as my good friend said, ask yourself, why am I doing this? That's a good question to ask yourself about everything in your life. Why am I doing this?
Mhm.
like check in with yourself. Why am I doing this? And if you don't have a good reason, then maybe you need to change what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
you're such a spirited, freeing person, and I've just genuinely enjoyed the conversations, even though we kind of went
I appreciate
in
that.
multiple places and different
I
topics.
feel like we can talk for another like 5 hours.
Yeah, I hope I didn't get too heavy with the politics. I think my wife might
not
have
at all.
tapped on the window. Might have tapped on the window like,
Alright.
you know, because because for someone who's trying to not be opinionated, I do have my opinions, obviously, about things, and you
I
know,
think we human beings, we are emotional animals. I think it's natural that we have opinions. I think
yeah,
the key is like what you mentioned earlier, is to be mindful, to be respectful, and be curious and
yes,
compassionate. Like, I think it's okay.
yeah,
Like, if we have no opinions, I think that would be a pretty tragic, like a boring world, or like meaningless.
it'd be boring. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
yeah.
think, and then just be aware of it and not like my opinion is right and your opinion is wrong. I think just be, of course, we all
If I
gotta
can,
have
if
opinion.
We can
if I
always
can
hope.
think about how many fights I've had with my family, because we just have strongly different opinions, and there were times when I was just like, Cole, if you could just be quiet, Cole, because it's not worth fighting about. You know, like these opinions. If it's going to trigger, like if it's going to hurt you emotionally, it's almost better to remain silent about it. I just don't think it's worth it a lot of the time.
Like, choose your battles, right?
Yes, choose your battles. That's what I would say. Yeah. And you can't change people. That's what I've realized. Like, whatever you think, like maybe if I say something to you or I plant a seed and you change, it's because you were ready to change. It's not really my seed. It was that you were waiting for that seed to be planted. So
Yes.
I think when it comes to the worldviews and politics and all of that, people will change if they want to change. Otherwise, you're just going to get red in the face,
Yeah.
arguing with
Well
each
said.
other about something,
Yes.
you know? Yeah.
Well said about that. Yeah.
Okay, so it's been a really a treat, and just talking to have Cole here and just having conversations on various topics. At the end, could you kind of like share with our audience, where can we find you?
Okay. Actually, what's easy for me is my Facebook, my Instagram, my YouTube are all Cole Fogal, COLEFOGLE. And my Instagram, I think it's just say Dahudza. I know my Instagram and my YouTube both say Cole Fogal Dahudza, but yeah, you can find me Instagram,
So like
Facebook,
pinyin, right?
YouTube.
大胡子, like DAHUZI.
I guess, yeah, I think it's regular. Yeah, I guess pinyin or regular. I don't know. My wife
We'll
helped
include it in the
me
show
with
note as well.
that part.
Yeah, I'll include in the show notes, and I think everybody needs to check it out because I've seen some clips of your interview. I love it. Like, you interview different foreigner and basically like sharing food and culture of Taiwan to,
Highly recommend.
Yeah, I've had some interesting. There's definitely some interesting foreigners living in Taiwan that I've had the opportunity to talk to. Yeah,
and connect
for
with.
sure.
I've checked
so
some of your
fun.
videos as well. They're really fun.
But it makes it. I was just gonna say it makes my life better though, because I have friends in all different cities in Taiwan now that I can.
Oh, I bet.
Go. It makes my life. I feel more connected by having the channel that I've created.
Now you won't leave Taiwan again. Just stay there.
No, I mean, it's hard for me because I feel like as you get older, like, would cold weather be good on my bones if I was like a senior citizen? I don't think so. I think the humidity, even though it's uncomfortable, might be better for me staying in Taiwan as an older person.
The healthcare system as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't get into that. I would just say, in very simply, I think Taiwan has a superior healthcare system to America and Canada.
I think
I would
Canada,
say, and I think
at least in America, people think
slightly better.
Yes. So you Canadians still win by a little bit. It's
But then you wait 3 months to get an appointment. You could die in the 3 months you're waiting for whatever you're waiting for. So I feel like Taiwan, it's like instant. You have a problem, you go straight to wherever you need to go. So I think I would love to see the world adopt the medical system here, I would say. And yeah, that would be my number one thing I would brag about Taiwan, is the medical system is really, really good here. Yeah.
Where I want to retire to, just move back to Taiwan.
Oh yeah.
My kids are older.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, well, final question for you. Where would you live in Taiwan if you were to move back?
Taipei because that's where I grew up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's
then
my
where would
mom.
that's where
So
your mom is, and where would you?
my family live in Jiayi, so I would say if I were to go
Jai.
back to Taiwan, probably close to my family.
The Tropic of Cancer, Jai.
Oh, what?
It's right on the Tropic of Cancer.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so in the summertime, it's actually the most humid spot that you can
I did
be.
not know that actually. I know it went through
Yeah.
Jiayi, but I did not know it's the
Yeah.
most humid spot. Oh.
Yeah, but yeah, no,
Even
Jai
if
is
Ali
beautiful.
Chen, will be better. You can escape the
Yeah.
youth. So
But I was gonna say I love Taipei and I love Jai. Like there isn't really a place in Taiwan that I don't think Hsinchu is the only city I haven't really visited in Taiwan. Other than that, I've had the pleasure of seeing most of the island. They're all good places to live. Yeah.
nice. All right. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for
Thank
joining us.
you. Thank you, Cole.
All right, peace.
Keep in touch. Bye.
Most definitely.
Hey, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode that we brought to you. If you like this episode, if you learned something from us, from our guest, make sure you share it to your friends so they can enjoy it too with us. Bring them into our community. We can learn and grow together. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast and leave a review so we can hear from you. And don't forget to go to our show notes for our free resources. We will see you next time. Bye!